Hi friends, and welcome back to Marvelous Friends, your home for all things Marvel Cinematic Universe and beyond. I'm Rhett, and today I'm going to be coming up with my predictions for the Phase 4 list of the MCU. Roll that credit. Shortly after the release of Endgame, Disney announced their plan for the next several years of feature films. This included dates for Disney features, Pixar films, Star Wars movies, and of course Marvel films as well. Specifically, the ones that were slated for Marvel films were May 1st, 2020, November 6th, 2020, February 12th, 2021, May 7th, 2021, November 5th, 2021, February 18th, 2022, May 6th, 2022, and July 19th, 2022. Now, as of the beginning of June, the movies that we know for sure will be part of Phase 4 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe are a Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 film. We know Shang-Chi will be introduced. Black Widow will receive a individual solo film. Black Panther will receive their second film. And then, of course, we will have the Eternals movie. For films that are speculated to be part of the MCU's Phase 4 are Doctor Strange 2, which is a confirmed movie but has not yet been confirmed for Phase 4, a third Spider-Man film, as movies tend to get a three-film story arc in the MCU. Eventually, we'll see another Avengers game kind of team-up film. Captain Marvel will most likely be receiving a second film as well. Sam Wilson, now that he is Captain America, may receive a solo film. Nova, of course. And of course, again, being kind of part of that three-film story arc, Black Panther will eventually receive a third, as well as Ant-Man in some form. Starting off with those movies we know for sure are going to be in the phase, initially I would have placed Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 pretty much at the front of the list, if not the phase opener, considering we know so much about the movie already, we know the script is set, and we know the cast and basically the major plot points of the film already. Now, the only thing is, Disney and James Gunn had their issues, the firing and rehiring of James Gunn, so I would say probably production at this point is a little bit delayed. So because of this, I'm going to move it back, but still keep it in the first half of the phase. So I'm going to slide it in 2021 in the May 7th slot. Shang-Chi is a film that we've also been hearing a lot of rustling about lately, with casting rumors now surfacing, though I will point out that there hasn't been any finalization of casting news, and we haven't really even heard that a script has been finalized into development. I would say this is not going to be at the front of the phase, but probably towards the middle to late. Because of that, I am going to place this kind of in that area. Now, specifically, I heard a rumor or an opinion or theory, and I would actually agree on this. The idea basically is that because Shang-Chi is relatively an unknown and new character franchise to launch, Marvel most likely will play this safe, putting it into a spot where there's a little bit of buffer. So I would think that the best spot for this would be in the February 18th spot of 2022. This means there will be a winter holiday season film right before, and shortly after will be a summer blockbuster film. So if it does flop, it doesn't hurt Disney and therefore Marvel Studios all that much. Now, the Black Widow film is something that we have a lot more concrete information on at this point. It has a full cast, as far as we know, a script, a director, and actually has already begun filming. Marvel has probably actually also been able to sneak some production and filming in well before what we have already been made aware of, with everyone so focused on Far From Home and Endgame. With this being also a film that has a little bit less on the special effects being required compared to that of other Avengers movies, I would say hers would probably be able to be completed a little bit faster. Also, we have to note that Black Widow is one of the few Avengers that still has loose ends to be tied up, and so I would put her at the very beginning or towards the beginning of the phase. In fact, I would say probably something that we're going to see is a previous mission that will set up the events of the phase's overarching story, perhaps giving us clues to who the major bad guy will be that they're trying to set up for the next several films. Again, we haven't really received confirmation that there will be kind of multi-phase arcing sagas, but hopefully there is. I still really like that. I loved how everything fit together in the end. But anyways, because of this, I'm going to be giving her the Phase 4 launching spot of May 1st, 2020. Black Panther was a box office smash, and so I'd say it is safe to believe that the sequel will be equally as popular. And because of this, I believe Marvel will give it some prime real estate on this release schedule. Being a returning franchise, its cast is pretty much set in stone, with only a few additional characters needing to be added for villains or for kind of dynamic changes between some of the pre-existing characters. Because of this, it means that production and releasing will be relatively quickly, and so it'll be towards the front of the phase. On top of this, I am going to state that the first film did release in February, and so I think it might be a chance that the second one will as well. Because of this, I'm going to give it the February 12th spot in 2021. It'll be the Valentine's Day film of the year, I am sure. Eternals is the last film that is 100% confirmed for Phase 4 of the MCU. It's going to be a large team-up film, so I think it's going to kind of fill the regular role that an Avengers film would, as it is going to have a large ensemble cast with many main characters. Now, there could still potentially be an Avengers film in this phase, but considering Marvel Studios has kind of hinted that it might be a minute before Avengers assemble again, I think this will be filling that role. Specifically, we do know that this has already received some casting news and all that, but considering the size of the cast and all that's going to have to go into this, I believe the production may take some time. So I'm going to push this towards the end of the phase. However, I do not think that Marvel will gamble the end and the grand finale of the phase on a new franchise. So they'll probably put it in more of a towards the end but not grand finale slot, relying on more of a returning character that has popularity to be the big grand finale of the phase. So because of this, I'm going to put it at 2022 in the May 6th slot. With the confirmed Phase 4 films out of the way, we now have the holiday slots of November 2020 and 2021, as well as the big summer movie of 2020, and then of course the big final closer of the phase. I'm going to go ahead and give the holiday slot for 2020 to Doctor Strange 2. I think it's a safe place for this sequel, as there are 3 movies going to be launching in 2021, and 2 of those are going to be major box office smashes, I'm sure, those being Black Panther 2 and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. This would mean that if Doctor Strange doesn't do as well in that holiday spot, it's not a big deal, considering he may not necessarily be the most popular member of the MCU as a franchise. Now, the cast is already set, and I think it should be able to jump into production relatively quickly, and after all, it is a confirmed movie, if not specifically confirmed for Phase 4. So this way, I think being at the beginning of the phase should be no problem for Doctor Strange 2. Now we have to get into some guesswork. I'm going to start off by going ahead and crossing off a third Spider-Man film off of this list. Spidey has been used very heavily in Phase 3. In this phase, he's received 2 solo films, appeared in 2 Avengers movies, and has also appeared in Civil War. Now, most actors with the MCU receive about a 6-film contract, so this would leave only 1 movie left for Spidey's contract following the events of Endgame and his own solo film, Far From Home. Though, considering Tom Holland is young, I do hope that he will be getting a film kind of contract extension of some kind, because he could potentially be used greatly, so hopefully that's already in the works. But because of all this, and because Far From Home ends Phase 3 and is the launching pad into Phase 4, I don't see that he's going to be showing up again. So you could kind of call Far From Home maybe like a 3.5 phase movie, but Phase 4 is not in the works for Spider-Man. As I mentioned, I feel that the Eternals will fill the role of the major team-up film for this phase. And though I did, yes, say that it is potentially an option still to have an Avengers film, I don't think it's going to actually happen until probably Phase 5 or 6 again. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this one out as well. Captain Marvel seems like one of the most likely films to place in Phase 4 out of all the kind of presumed movies to be working their way down the line. We know she has a lot of stories to tell, with herself being back into space, with the Kree and Skrull War going on, and everything that's happened between when she left in 1995 to the events of the Infinity War saga. Now, there's also the major part that she is most likely going to be the leader of the Avengers moving forward, so they will definitely want to keep her story rolling and building up to that, especially now that Iron Man and Captain America are no longer in the picture. Well, technically, yes, we do have Captain America still, because Sam Wilson has now been given that title by Steve Rogers, but I still think that Marvel will lean towards Captain Marvel being the leader of that team. Because of this, I do also think that we'll see her in the beginning of the phase, kind of towards the middle maybe. That way, most of our returning franchises will be at the front of the phase, with most of our new introductory teams and characters being towards the middle back. And then most of these kind of returning franchises acting as those introductory points for those later films. Because of this, I am going to give her our last holiday spot in November 5th, 2021. Speaking of Sam Wilson, I do want to mention, since he is now Captain America, it would make logical sense for at some point to receive his own Captain America, Sam Wilson, in the film. However, with him receiving a Disney Plus series right now with Bucky Barnes as Winter Soldier, I don't think that we will see that right away. However, I do kind of anticipate perhaps at the end of that series run, we'll see him don a more Star-Spangled Banner version of his Falcon suit, kind of setting up to the potential of him stepping into that Captain America role and having a solo feature film. Nova is a movie that has been rumored for a long time now. Ever since we have been introduced to the Nova Corps back in the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie, it has been just really a case of when will Nova be introduced. This is something I do agree is just getting closer and closer to happening, especially with the leaked information that there was supposed to be a scene between Thanos and Nova as Thanos goes to kind of acquire the Power Stone from the Nova Corps, though this was ultimately cut. Now, I more see this being potentially a beginning of Phase 5 film, and here's why. We have a large number of films already out in the cosmos, and Marvel has said that they are looking to kind of move to more of a cosmic and a earthly set of films. So I think there'll probably be a little bit of a balance between the two, and potentially doing a Nova film on top of everything else would be one too many cosmic films for this phase. Plus, it seems that Marvel Studios is really determined to introduce Nova in someone else's film, with both of his previous attempts, both within the Guardians and now within Endgame potentially, being used to introduce the character and then him continuing on with his own franchise. And so I think third time is the charm here, and as we are going to see the Guardians moving back out into the galactic realm, perhaps they'll introduce Nova finally. Now there is also, of course, rumors that Nova is already in production, but again, I see him beginning of Phase 5. Now, as I mentioned towards the beginning of this video, most solo franchises tend to receive a 3-film story arc treatment, which means Black Panther most likely will be receiving this as well, considering its popularity, and be having a 3rd film. And though knocking out films focusing on one character twice in a single phase has been done, for example, Spider-Man 1 and 2 in Phase 3 and Iron Man 1 and 2 back in Phase 1, I don't think they'll be pacing themselves through their Black Panther movies this quickly. Again, because he is so popular, they want to space out and very carefully use his contracted film appearances. Which leaves us with just one more film option that is due to receive this 3-film story arc franchise treatment. Though I do not see Ant-Man or the Wasp bowing out of the MCU anytime soon, they are due a 3rd and final film for their franchise arc. And considering that Ant-Man has been used towards the end, if not the last film, but the last 2 phases, it makes sense that they would do him again this way. For instance, Ant-Man was used at the end of Phase 2, and Ant-Man and the Wasp was almost the last film of Phase 3. Now, specifically on this, they have been using these as kind of launching pads into the next phase, setting up the ideas that would be used as major plot points. For instance, we know that Ant-Man set up some of the events for Civil War, and then of course Ant-Man and the Wasp set up the quantum realm that was heavily used for Endgame. Being the case, again, I think we'll see Ant-Man launch us into Phase 5. Now, it's tough to say if this will just be an Ant-Man film or Ant-Man and the Wasp, or a combination film again. However, either way, I could also see then potentially the Wasp receiving a 3rd title film of her own after this either way. So that makes my final prediction: May 1st, 2020, Black Widow; November 6th, 2020, Doctor Strange 2; February 12th, 2021, Black Panther 2; May 7th, 2021, Guardian of the Galaxy 3; November 6th, 2021, Captain Marvel 2; February 18th, 2022, Shang-Chi; May 6th, 2022, Eternals; and then July 29th, 2022, Ant-Man 3 or Ant-Man and the Wasp 2 or something involving bugs. And then that's it. That's my prediction for the order of Phase 4. Now, there is something I would just kind of like to say here, consider it a PSA. There have been a lot of information regarding leaks of what the Phase 4 is going to actually be. And honestly, I don't know about all these. When you're looking into these kind of leaks or all that, I kind of find that a lot of times their sources are much more rumor-based than actual factual ones within Marvel Studios, but you never know until we know. So that's why I always say that, you know, trust leaks for what they are. You never know truly, and so just be careful with all of those. And I'd also then like to repeat that this is my personal prediction. This is not a leak or anything like that, so don't take it as absolute fact. But considering it is my opinion, I would like to know yours. What do you think of my order? Do you think it's wrong? Would you move anything around? Do you want to see more new characters introduced, or do you agree that it'll be a very kind of sequel-heavy phase? Let me know all that down in the comments below. Now, we are heading right into the height of Comic-Con season, and Marvel Studios has confirmed that we will be learning more information about Phase 4 following the events of Far From Home, so I know that we're going to get a lot more confirmation of what this is going to look like and potential information about exact movies. So to be part of all that discussion, make sure you subscribe and set your alerts so you know when I post future videos. But until then, I love you all 3,000. I hope you have a marvelous rest of your day. Bye, friends.